If you walk in a room and there's 10 people in the room with a frown on your face, most people are going to frown back. If you walk in the same room with the same people with a smile on your face, most people are going to smile back. And that's what we need to do. Don't wait for other people to make the change. Be that guy that does that change. Be that guy that walks in the room with a smile on his face. Be that guy to say the first word in an elevator when everyone's looking the opposite way and nobody speaks. Be that first guy to make somebody's day. That's what it's all about. Don't sit and wait for somebody else to do it, guys. Get up and do it yourself. Be a leader.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to yet another episode of I Love Being Sober. My name is Tim Westbrook, and I'm the CEO of Camelback Recovery here in the always sober and always sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, where my team and I, over the course of many years, have helped thousands of people find their path to long-term recovery. We started this show because there's so much bad information, misinformation about treatment, addiction recovery, the treatment world in general. So we bring guests on this show as a way to provide accurate information, as a way to provide the truth, as a way to help people realize how much more there is to recovery and treatment than just going to treatment for 30 days, than just working a 12-step program, than just quitting. And there's a lot to it. And so I'm super grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here with Dr. Robb Kelly. And Dr. Robb Kelly is a PhD, a renowned addiction consultant who believes in treating the problem of addiction, not the symptoms. He has worked for many years helping addicts and alcoholics to recover their lives from the disease of addiction. Based on his own experiences working with addicts and alcoholics over the last 20 years, a PhD in psychology from Oxford University, and as a recovered alcoholic himself, he is a triple threat against the disease of addiction. Dr. Kelly was the CEO of a thriving telecommunications company when the walls came crashing down on him due to alcoholism. He ended up homeless, broken on the streets of Manchester, England, until he found the courage to save himself. He's lectured on the subject of addiction at many high-profile universities, national conferences, public schools, churches, business organizations, and hospitals, and is recognized as the leading authority on addiction recovery methods that are changing lives all around the world. Dr. Kelly's methods may seem unconventional, leading some people to refer to him as the Gordon Ramsay of the addiction world because of his direct, no-nonsense, and candid approach to treating addiction. Dr. Kelly works to make the road of recovery less of a mystery tour. Dr. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here. Thank you guys for watching. It's going to be a great show. I know it is.
It is going to be a great show, and we're going to talk about a lot. And who knows, we've got about 55 minutes here. We're going to talk about neuroplasticity and its role in changing neural pathways. We're going to talk about trauma and addiction, returning to the scene of the crime. And we're going to talk about the grateful and recovered alcoholic from being hopeless to being hopeful, which I don't know about you, but when I first got clean and sober and started going to 12-step meetings and started going to AA meetings, and I would hear people say, I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And it's like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, definitely. I was sick of hearing that sometimes when I first came around. But the 12-step meetings definitely helped me. Fellowship alone is good, you know. But yeah, it's there's many ways to get sober and many other outlets. And the latest we've found with the brain science is, 10 years ago, we found we could change the way the brain thinks. A bit like plastic, we can direct and mold neural pathways into great thinking. But it's nothing less than a miracle that in 1939, when they wrote the book, they were talking about neural pathways then, but they called it psychic. Many people think psychic is somebody around a crystal ball, but no, psychic of the mind, psychiatry, psychologist. So they were talking about a change of mind back in 1938 and 39. Unbelievable.
Right. So let's start. And I've got your book here, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. So I've got this, and if you want to learn more about Dr. Robb Kelly, this is a good quick read, and you can hear a little bit more about him and more about his story. But why don't you tell us, Dr. Kelly, what happened? Give me a little bit on you. Tell me a little bit about where you came from.
I was thrown on stage with a musical family at the age of 9. I was a bass guitarist, very gifted apparently. And I took my first drink at the age of 9 in between. It was in Liverpool, Liverpool over in the UK. And it was because I was nervous. My uncle gave me half a beer. I drank it. And for the first, second, third mouthful that went down, it changed my life completely. It was the best thing that happened to me. I got confidence. I went back on stage the second half and I played my heart out. And everyone said it was amazing. So that set off my alcoholism, although I didn't know it then. I truly believe you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. You can drink yourself into becoming an abuser of alcohol, but we're born this way. You know, a predisposition along with mapped neural pathways as a child, because there's always trauma, whatever there's alcoholism. So through school, still drinking, nothing crazy. Went to Oxford. I put myself through that. I wanted to go to the best university because I'm an alcoholic. I'm either all in or all out. That's my deal with everything. But I then became I applied for
when did you realize, or when did you think that you might have a problem with alcohol?
Well, the day I realized I had a real problem and couldn't stop drinking was the last day on the streets. I was homeless for 14 months. Last day on the streets, I realized I couldn't stop drinking. Other than that, I was fighting against it. I didn't believe it. I was just, in denial 100% and wrecked everybody's lives around me, but didn't really think I had a problem.
I can relate to that. There's lots of people that can relate to that. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So it was heartbreaking when I found out, but yeah, it took me years and years and years. I was 28 when I really found out what was going on, which was scary.
Okay. So once you realized you were an alcoholic, or you thought you might be an alcoholic, then what?
Well, there was a bunch of stuff that happened before that, but the actual breakdown was on a Monday morning, 2:30-ish in the morning. And I dropped down to my hands and knees, started to cry from my belly. Wasn't crying because I lost my kids, my wife, my houses, my medical license, all that stuff. I was crying because the first time I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And I remember looking up to the sky at the time and saying, hey, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. And 30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner who's missed his last bus from his Bible study. And he bumped into me. And that's where my life started, onto the road to recovery. It was crazy.
And so what specifically happened? So you bumped into this guy, and then what?
He took me back to his house and he said, you can stay here. He was a Christian. He was an alcoholic, which I was a bit pissed at because I thought God would send me an alcoholic with a bottle of vodka in his hand. So we're at his house and he said, you can stay as long as you want, Rob, but you've got to come to these AA meetings with me. Well, I'd been to them AA meetings. They were horrible, but I had to go because he had a nice house and it was a dry bed. So I went while I was there, same old war stories. And halfway around the room, this guy called John shared, and he talks about the book. He talks about permanent recovery. He talks about a life beyond my wildest dreams. He talks about, and every time he said it, he would point the book page and the paragraph. So I knew he knew what he was talking about. And he gave me hope, saying a recovered alcoholic, because that's what I am today. I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. And I went over to him asking to help. In actual fact, I said, can you be my sponsor? And he said, no, which I was just like a couple of breaths I took in going, what? And then he said, I'll be your spiritual advisor for a period of 8 weeks. And every single week, Tim, on a Wednesday, I would walk to that man's house for about an hour because I couldn't afford bus fare. I'd sit with an hour for him and I'd walk an hour back. So it's 3 hours every Wednesday night. But I would read the book during the week and he'd give me 4 highlighters, mark off God words, must words, messages, and promises. And then during the week, I would do that like 4 or 5 pages a day. And then back to his house on a Wednesday. Now, he showed me some stuff in that book that I'd never seen before, and I want to share in 12-step meetings. They're aghast of what it is, especially the wording in there. So I did the steps with him overnight because that's what the book says. After step 5, go home, which I did. Anyway, I walked out of that man's house. I knew if I continued the program, I'd never drink again. And he told me things were going to happen. The next day, Rob, things are going to start happening to you. And the very next day, I got a part-time job, which during the week turned into a full-time job. So after my first 2 weeks, I got my first pay check. And I went to the gas station or the petrol station in England. I bought him a little teddy bear and a card. And I wrote on it, thank you, John, for introducing me to God that took the compulsion of drink away. And I walked back to his house or his apartment. When I got there, there was nobody there, So I was banging that loud on the door. The next door neighbor came out, a lady he says, can I help you? And I said, yeah. Can you tell me where John's moved to, relocated? And she said, there's been no one in that apartment for at least 6 months that I've been here. So I let her close the door. She's obviously a crazy woman. And I knocked on the left-hand side, and a guy comes to the door. And I said, can you tell me where John's relocated to? And he said, that apartment's been vacant for a year, buddy. You've got the wrong address. Never found that guy. But the stuff he taught me was unbelievable.
So how did you, so what do you mean? So you were going to see him at a place that he didn't really live?
I don't know. I mean, I went back to the meeting and I said, hey guys, remember the guy I was talking to, John, in the corner near the coffee machine? And the chairman was there, and he went, yeah, there's no John, Rob. We didn't see anything. So I grabbed him because I thought he was making fun of me. And I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and I rammed him against the wall. I said, don't you ever disrespect me again. And a couple of friends pulled me off and he said, what's going on? I said, who was the guy who was talking to over near the coffee machine? And this is what one of them said. He said, Rob, you was talking to yourself over near the coffee machine. There was nobody there called John. That's it. That's the last I know of that conversation. I've never traced him since. So I don't know. Be it as you see it, but I know what I think I saw. I thought I saw some sort of angel saving me and taking me through certain steps to make sure that I can carry this message and help other people. And that's what has happened to me. I reach millions of people with my show, my TV and the radio, my books. So yeah, it's unbelievable. It's been a great journey.
And so you had a career, right? You had a career prior to getting clean and sober and prior to working in the field of addiction recovery.
Yes. I was running a telecommunications company. We built the masts for all the Army and Navy, first of all, but then obviously telecoms came in. We started building telephone masts for them. And then all, of course, the drinking, finally lost all that just before I went to the streets. So yeah, the career was there, but I did lose it. I lost everything. I mean, when I went on the streets, I didn't have a penny to my name and nobody would speak to me. I had to beg on the streets. I remember, it keeps coming back into my mind. I was stood outside a hamburger place and a married couple came out with 2 kids. And I heard the man say to the woman, I don't think I can eat all this hamburger. And I followed them for about 10 minutes until he finally threw half of it in the trash can. And I went in the trash can and dug it out and wiped all the mess off it. And I ate that hamburger. That's how starving I was.
And once you got clean and sober, how long did it take before you decided that you wanted to work in treatment?
Well, don't forget, by then I got my PhD in psychology. So my first job when I left school was a policeman. That's what I did with my job. And then I did various things after that. But I think straight away, I just went in, and that was part of my deal, to God, was that I would aggressively work with other people, and that's the only way I did. So I set up practice, but didn't charge for anybody. I do it pro bono, and I would just work with people. And then finally it turned into a full-time job that turned into a crazy career over the years. So yeah, I was straight into it straight away, going around meetings at nighttime with my book, traveling as far as I can with my book, and just teaching people and showing people exactly what's in the book, because it's nothing like you think it is. Everyone thinks you can read it and that's it. No, it's got nothing. From page 1, there's stuff on that page that you don't even know what it means. Like the word earnestness. People see it's mentioned 7 times in the book, earnestness. I asked everybody I meet, do you know what the word means? Oh, yeah. Do you know what the synonym of earnestness is? Oh, no, it's sober. The words are there for the reason. They're not just thrown together. Every single word, like vital, necessary to life. So it's just been a great journey so far.
Well, I think it's, it's like there's four levels of learning, right? You read it, you listen to it, you write it down, you speak it back. Level 4 is you teach it. And so when it comes to step 12, carrying the message, sponsoring other guys, sponsoring other women, like this is a lifelong journey, right? And it's kind of like when you want to get fit physically. You go to the gym, you work out. You don't just go to the gym and work out, and then once you're in shape, you're done working out forever. Being in recovery and being spiritually fit is ongoing, right? We have to constantly work on ourselves, constantly go to meetings, sponsor guys, carry the message. That's the only way we're going to continue and stay spiritually fit.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym. If you're getting really fit at the gym and you take 3 days off, it tells. It catches up on you. It's a maintenance of a daily spiritual program for me. I mean, we could even talk about the hypothalamus resetting every 24 hours, and that gives me an idea that this is to be done every day. And when I stop doing it, there's relapse causes there, and you've got to look at that. A lot of people, I always ask him, when did you stop praying? When did you stop going to meetings? Because meetings will never keep me sober. Meetings do never get me well. It's the big, of all the studying I've done around in my time, must be over 20 years of college, universities, and schools. I've studied Carl Jung. I studied addiction. I studied neuroplasticity and the brain regarding addiction. The best piece of literature I've ever read is the first 164 pages of the book that we're talking about, pertaining to the alcoholic and the recovery of said person. So once I started reading that, I started, getting into it even more. So the book says that we have a reprieve, a daily reprieve. Now, when you look the word reprieve from the Oxford English, it's a stay of execution. I have a daily stay of execution. And if I did yesterday if I did today, and today what I did tomorrow, I'm going to stay sober. This is not one day at a time. Doesn't mean not drinking, guys. It means how much can I pack in that day, in that stream of life? How many people can I help? How can I be of service to other people? Because when I say thank you to somebody, dopamine is released into my brain. End of story. Don't know about you guys, but I like me some dopamine, so getting on this, not high every day. I don't have bad days, Tim. I do have better days than others. But usually I'm at a 9 and 10 on the happiness scale because I spent too many years crying inside and outside the rooms, on the streets, with my family, in treatment centers. Nothing worked for me. So I'm the only person, or alcoholics who recover are the only people that get 2 lives in one lifetime. Don't mess the second one up, guys. Because them dreams you have at nighttime of doing this and doing that, becoming successful, and the daydreams you have, that's God telling you your future. But what happens is you surround yourself by people who hate you or don't like you or want to put you down, and they drain you of God's vision for you. And in the end, you settle for that job working at a supermarket, or you settle for that job sweeping the floor. What God had for you is he had a multi-million-dollar business to run where you can help millions of alcoholics. But you're hanging around these people. You've got to hang around the people that are going to lift you up, never put you down. God gave you $1 million mind. Stop hanging around with 10-cent minds.
As they say, willpower doesn't work. Ben Hardy wrote a book called Willpower Doesn't Work, and it speaks to the environment and the people that you surround yourself with. What do they say? You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Yeah. You've got to spend time with people that have what you want, right? And
definitely. An old man once told me outside my school when I was waiting for the bus, he was a wise old man. And back in the day, it was like 5,000 a year. People were on a 10. And he said, the best, say you get leave here, son, and you get a job for 5,000, but you want 10,000. How'd you do it? I went, I don't know, work harder. He said, hell no, you hang around the people that earn 10,000. And now this blew my mind. So all my life, I've been hanging around people that I look up to, people that help more people, earn more money, drive bigger cars, love people better, service every single day, and you become that person. If you think about it, guys, have you ever hung around a friend that has a special saying, like, get out of here? After a few weeks or months, you will say that saying, because you will become that person, because we mirror each other. So if you're hanging around guys that don't have any ambition, who keep drinking and keep relapsing, that is going to be you. It's human science. You can't change it on your own. There has to be repetition, strengthened, and confirms around the actions that create your future. Hey, listen, one of my favorite sayings, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Love it. I have a friend named Joe Polish. He's the founder of Genius Network and also the founder of Genius Recovery. And he always talks about creating value. He actually wrote a book called Life Gives to the Giver.
Yes.
And it's all about creating value. How much value can I create? We all want fulfillment. And pre-sobriety, I lie, cheat, steal to take what I want, right? And now being in the rooms of AA, being in the 12-step rooms, and surrounding myself with people, not even all of them are in recovery, but I spend most of my time with people that believe about creating value creation. And I'm going to achieve fulfillment when I give. I'm going to be a kind person. I'm going to be an honest person. I'm going to keep my side of the street clean, that's how I achieve fulfillment.
Every time, it tells us time and time again, we have to act the Good Samaritan every day, not just 4 days a week, 7 days a week. Because what we have to remember is all the stuff we've been through, it's like a semester at Harvard. These are teachings for your future. Learn by what you've been put through, because God only puts you through that because He knows you can handle it. And you come out the other side and you are absolutely armed with the facts about everything. That you might be the only person that somebody who's going to die of alcoholism sees today. So what are you going to do? You're going to piss and moan what a bad day it is, or you're going to excite him by your eyes and your actions and your voice, excited about life after all these years. You bet I am. I once heard in the rooms, be careful, Rob, after 3 months of sobriety, you're on a pink cloud, you might come off it. I've been on a pink cloud for a lot longer than that, and I ain't coming off it.
Wait, at what point did you realize that you needed the way you were going to achieve fulfillment was by giving?
Well, there's a couple of people around me, again, that I surrounded myself with. And he wasn't talking monetary, but he said, you'll never go broke by giving away. And he meant it spiritually, and kindness and monetary and everything. And that's what I do today. We're in a position, me and my wife, where we run a very successful $1 million company, and we give a lot of money away. But we don't just give it to any old person. We give it to people in recovery who have children, especially single parent. I mean, we'll help anybody out if when they call us, as long as we know them. We don't give to strangers, unfortunately. But if we know that you're doing the right thing and you're helping, it's all about giving my time, my money, my thoughts, my experience back to the next person. I run a book study every Saturday morning. I'm a very busy guy, but I put away all bets are off Saturday morning. My wife does not book anything. That's my time giving back. I do an hour's book study, and it's beautiful. And everyone in there is amazed and just learning real good stuff. I mean, that's what it's about for me. I put that first before my working life, because that's what's getting me through. And that's what inspires other people, because that's my job today. I'm always going to be in the trenches. You see the other stuff you see me do, guys, the TV, the books, the radio, pays the mortgage and keeps my wife happy. My job is in the trenches, working with them guys. And the only paycheck I get off them is watching them recover and get the job back, the life back, the wife back, the car back, and just have an amazing life. That's me paid in full.
Now, is your wife in recovery?
No, she isn't. She had a brother that took his own life because he was an alcoholic. So there's a relation there that she knows. But no, she was a director at a university when I met her, but she's just adapted to this. It's funny because when I first met her, the only thing she wanted to do is she didn't like her job too much. So she wanted to, I don't know, change it or something. And one day I came home and it says, hey, we're that successful right now at work that you can go in and give your notice in tomorrow. And she did. She was the happiest person in the world for about 3 days. And then she says, I can't do this anymore. It's driving me crazy. So she came and worked for us. And then she became the director of operations, and she does all the wages and everything. So every Friday I've got to be kind to her because she pays my wages.
Nice. And how long have you been married?
5 years, 6 years, February the 14th.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations. Okay. Let's talk about, actually, before we get there, how did you end up in the United States?
I came over here for 2 weeks. A church in Plano near Dallas, Texas, got in touch with me and said, hey, we want you to come over. We've heard a lot about you. And we want to spend 2 weeks with our youth ministry. We have a big crack cocaine in the real posh areas of Plano, one of the wealthiest cities in America at one time. So I went over there. I booked everything. I went over and I come over here. And the minute I landed at DFW Airport, just outside Dallas, I knew I would never go back home. And I didn't.
Wow.
And that was 14 years ago.
And you're living in Texas now?
I live in San Antonio, Texas. I lived in Dallas for 10 years, but we came here about 2 years ago to San Antonio because it's near her family. And we found the house of our dreams. We're going to be here until God decides he's got some more work up there for me.
Awesome. I love San Antonio. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about neuroplasticity and its role in changing neural pathways.
So neuroplasticity is the tracking of the neural pathways in the head. well, part of it. What happens is when we're born alcoholic, not drug addict, guys. I've got to stress that. Drugs and alcohol are two different entities at all. Alcohol reacts differently on the brain than any drug does. So we're born this way. So the minute we take alcohol, all bets are off. Whatever is alcoholism is always trauma. Let me define trauma for you, because many people go, oh, not in my life. This is two types of trauma. For the alcoholic brain, the addicted brain, get down off that chair, you stupid idiot. How many times have I told you you're not clever enough to go to college? That's child abuse. Anything less than nurturing is child abuse, guys. That's where the abuse comes from. So our neural pathways, which is our thinking process, it always leads to self-sabotage. That's why we can get a week, a month, even a year sometimes of building up that bright future for me and my family. And all of a sudden I go on a spree and drag everything down. And then I get back in with my wife and the kids are okay and the job's kind of there again. And I do it exactly the same thing, because the neural pathways in my head are self-sabotaging neural pathways. They're always going to self-sabotage. So that goes back to the hypothalamus I was talking about before. Part of the job of the hypothalamus is a fight or flight part of the brain. So it secretes into the brain what's going on, fight off, should I run, should I stay? You know, all the major quick decisions we have to make. So, and survival instincts. So it tells the normal person to drink water and eat food to survive. That's why we don't need to teach a baby how to eat. It already knows. Hand down its mouth means it's hungry. That's the normal. To the alcoholic, it tells us to drink. Now, that's new science we've just got into. So what does that mean for the alcoholic? The brain's telling us to drink. So how do we change that? We have to change the neural pathways into self-care, into positive, into feeling better, getting more out of life. And what happens is the main neural pathways in my head were going down a main freeway. I have to start taking the side roads to my destination. And sooner or later, the side roads become my main neural pathway thought process in my head. And the old self-sabotage fizzles out and finally goes away.
So when you say changing the neural pathways, before the neural pathways are changed, our reaction, our urge, our desire is to drink. That's the solution, right?
It is the solution, but it's not the disease. So yes, it is the solution. It's going to, oh, this is getting too much. It's sunny outside. It's raining outside. I'm just going to drink because I'm self-centered and selfish and I can't handle life. And my brain's telling me that, never going back to pet, never good enough. Never get down off that chair, you stupid idiot. Wow. I wouldn't speak to my worst enemy the way I speak to myself. Not in a million years. So we have to be careful of what, if I drop a pen on the floor, I'm not an idiot. I just dropped a pen on the floor. Internal dialogue will either save your life or kill you as an alcoholic.
So what are the steps to change your neural pathways?
Well, you have to have help from somebody like me who specializes in changing neural pathways. A neural pathway is a new thought pattern. So have you ever noticed when you first start driving a car, no matter what size the car is, it feels like a tank. When you're passing cars, you're scared in case they hit them, yet you're 10 yards away from the car. That's just the way it is. And the more we do that, repetition strengthens and confirms neural pathways. All of a sudden now, we can back down the driveway while speaking to mom on the phone, listening to music and waving to the next door neighbor without a thought of driving. That's solid neural pathways have been built, ingrained into the brain, how to drive. Now, spend a year not driving and the car turns into a tank again. So we need to do this on a daily basis to keep them neural pathways solid and become a thought pattern without thinking about it. We call it the knee-jerk reaction. And it's the same with alcoholism. You need them self-care. So you need to do good things, good thought patterns. We use brain spotting, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and SE, which is somatic experience, to change the way we think, the way we act, and the way they behave. Repetition over a 90-day period, because that's how long it takes for the brain to reset chemically. We're on a good start to a great life.
And then once the neural pathways, once the new neural pathways have been developed, how does a person keep the new neural pathways intact?
Repetition every time. The thing we just talked about, it's a daily maintenance of everything, not just the spiritual way, everything, of a set routine to keep us busy, always giving back, always being available, always being positive whenever you can. And I talk to everybody. You know, I went into the bakery a couple of months ago. I was getting a cake for someone's birthday at the 12-step meeting. And there was an old lady behind the counter. And I always have a ball with people. I always laugh and joke. And she's like, if I was 50 years younger, me and you'd be dating. And I was like, if you were 50 years younger, I'd let you date me. And we're going back and forth. And, you know, she's laughing and I'm laughing. Just usual stuff that I do. And we're back tomorrow because we wanted to write his name on it. So we went back the next day and a manager was serving me. And all of a sudden, this old lady, she came from the back of the store and she said, oh, can I speak to you? And I said, yeah. And she said, yesterday, I want to thank you. And I'm like, well, what for what? What did I do? Did I, you know, she said, this is my first day. Yesterday was my first day back since my husband died 6 months ago. And I was dreading coming into work and I was scared and I was nervous and all that stuff. I said, but laughing and joking with you in the first hour I was there just made my day. I didn't know that. You know, right. I had no idea she told me, but that's the sort of stuff we need to do. Make other people's day, and it'll come back to you tenfold.
Yep. Being optimistic, being positive, laughter. I mean, it's like laughter is some of the best medicine, right?
Definitely. Always try. Look, if you walk in a room and there's 10 people in the room with a frown on your face, most people are going to frown back. If you walk in the same room with the same people with a smile on your face, most people are going to smile back. And that's what we need to do. Don't wait for other people to make the change. Be that guy that does that change. Be that guy that walks in the room with a smile on his face. Be that guy to say the first word in an elevator when everyone's looking the opposite way and nobody speaks. Be that first guy to make somebody's day. That's what it's all about. Don't sit and wait for somebody else to do it, guys. Get up and do it yourself. Be a leader. Alcoholics who've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body are leaders. This isn't an affliction. It's a freaking superpower. Start using the power that God's given you. The 12-step book says we are empowered. I can tell from experience that empowered people empower people. And that's what it's about. Spend too many times at the back of the line. Too many times crying and hoping and wishing. This is it, guys. This is the chance to reclaim your life. We get 2 lives in one lifetime. That's the alcoholic for you.
Well, and it's just like the energy in a room. You can feel the energy in a room. If you walk into a room and it's dreary and it's pressing, to your point, be the person that brings the positive energy. Because if you're the person that brings the positive energy, that brings the smile, that says hello, that brings the laughter, that changes the whole environment, that changes the energy in the room.
Definitely. Listen, the positive energy you talk about, Tim, is very contagious. It's like when somebody starts laughing, other people start laughing with you. You don't know what the joke is because you're laughing. Again, going back to the mirror effect in the brain. So, yeah, be that change. What's the worst can happen? Because I'll tell you what, even if they don't feel better, you will every single time.
Who is it? Abe Lincoln that said, you're as happy as you make your mind up to be?
There you go. A truest statement I've never heard. That's unbelievable. It's so true. You know, if I'm happy today and then tomorrow I find I'm miserable, what's changed? Let's live in the same house, got the same wife, dogs, cars, business. Oh, let me see. I've changed. That's the neural pathways from the self-sabotaging coming back again. Stop your day and start your day over anytime you want. You get up in the morning, you stub your toe, you cut yourself shaving, the hot waters to whatever it is. Stop, breathe, and say, I'm going to start my day now. And I'm telling you now, listeners, if you don't get better after what I just said, call me. I will give you $10,000 because it's impossible to do, because what we say to ourselves, we react on, you know? So that internal dialogue, again, will rule your brain. Fight back against that depression. Not all depression. I don't want to get into all that, but just that little depression alcoholics get into. Fight against it. Change your day. Start your day. Breathe. Call somebody up. Be of service. Anything you need to do to get you out of self, because selfishness is what kills us, not alcohol. Alcohol's the end result. The selfishness of oneself will kill you. And once that starts to happen, it's like a corroding thread. It's absolutely going to rip through your mind and your body. And before you know, a day is you're drinking. And let me tell you this, guys, when you're drinking, you're no good to anybody. Forget yourself. You're no good to anybody. There's 10 or 20 people out there that day that you're drunk should have heard something about what you had to say. And because you were selfish and drank, they didn't hear it. And they're probably dead today. Think about that.
The selfishness and self-centeredness. It's going back to the drinking and the drugs is selfish. It's self-centered. And it means that I'm not helping somebody else, because if I'm helping somebody else, then I'm not thinking about myself. I remember I was about 5 years sober, 4 or 5 years sober. I remember I was calling my sponsor, and I'm going through these things in my life, and I'm calling my sponsor, and he's working with newcomers, and he's not calling me back. And I'm like, what about me?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I realized I needed to get another sponsee. I need to work with another person. The reason I work with another person is to get outside of myself. Tim needs to help somebody besides Tim. And then I get to a place where I'm grateful. I'm full of gratitude, and I realize my problems really aren't that big of a deal.
Correct. And that's one of the secrets in life. If you could get that down to a T, the pursuit of happiness, you've arrived. Believe me, you've arrived. And just keep doing that on a daily basis and being that guy.
Trauma and addiction, returning to the scene of the crime.
Again, going back to that stuff that you don't want to talk about. You know, the 12-step book talks about grosser handicaps. There's only 7 of them that I've ever found. Go back and clearing that stuff up, because many people, when they do the step 4 and 5, go, oh, I don't really want to talk about, oh, no, I've dealt with that. I've dealt with that rape. I've dealt with that molestation. Have you? Or do you just want to come to that humbling experience with a guy who's your sponsor you don't really know? You've got to ask yourself that question. So we go back to the scene of the crime and we clear that stuff up. We look at it for what it is, the effects it had on you, and how we're going to get out of that, because that stuff sits in the subconscious brain. And it will affect the rest of your life if you leave it lingering. And what happens with this stuff back at the scene of the crime is it gets built up and other stuff added to it. And it's like a zip file on your computer screen. Sooner or later, you're going to click on it. And all that crap that you've stored up will come out all at once. And that's the biggest cause of a breakdown, because the brain can't handle it. It switches off. The central nervous system closes down. Then we're in big trouble.
We've got to clear away the wreckage of the past.
Definitely. All of it. Every single bit of it that we can. And just live that great life. You know, have nothing in the past that's lingering that will come up, and forget about anybody else, that will come up and destroy you. You know, the amends we make to people, not for them, it's for me. You know, the kind stuff I do for people, it's not for them, it's for me. You know, this is the stuff I need to do. And people forget about that. You know, if I'm walking down the road and there's no one around and I throw a trash into the can, it misses, it hits the floor. Do I pick it up or do I leave it there because there's nobody watching me? That defines the person you really are. If you pick it up, you're living right. If you leave it there, it's all show. My grandfather, who I never met, my mum used to tell me, when you meet somebody, look at the shoes. If they're shiny at the front, but the back of the heel is dull, they're all for show. If they shine the back of the shoes where the heel is, they're the real deal. They're thoughtful, they're kind, they're impeccable with their word. And I've always done that today.
I've never heard that before.
It's so true. Just look at the guy's shoes, especially not so much now when shoes have changed, but back when you used to have to use polish on your black shoes, you always look at the back. If it's still scuffed and messed up and everything, they're just doing it for show. They're not doing it because they're thorough and live a good life. So true.
Wow. I'll have to start paying attention to that. Although being in the middle of a pandemic, it's not like I'm out seeing a lot of people as it is.
Yes. True.
So grateful and recovered alcoholic from being hopeless to hopeful. Talk to me about that.
Transition through the 12-step program will take you to a place you've never been before. See, here's the deal, guys, that nobody knows. This is self-based evidence from our program that we use here, is when you have the psychic change and the spiritual awakening, your DNA changes. So you're not the same person as you was when you walked into the rooms or started reading the book. So what does that mean? Well, the book is quite specific when it says the same man will drink again. So our DNA has to change. Once that happens, we're on the right road. We're a different person. So the pursuit of happiness, again, is there for you, and we can chase it and we can live the dream we want to live. We don't get stuck in the past. Now, we don't want to forget the past because it's got us to where we are today. But, you know, I don't live in my past. I remember things. I talk about it now and again, but I don't live there. I live in today. I'm lucky and blessed because I have people around me to do all the stuff that I can't get involved with. The booking, the talking, the appointments, the payment, and that's all taken off me. I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow. I just know that tonight my wife will give me today. She'll say, here's your appointments for tomorrow. And that's it. So I really get to live one day at a time, and I really get to live in the moment, which is awesome.
Do you ever feel not supported by your wife in your recovery path or your recovery journey?
No, absolutely amazing woman. Sticks by me all the way. And I'll be honest, Tim, if it wasn't through her, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Everybody needs the person that can rely on, the person that lifts you up, the person that reminds you who you are, the person for support, then the person on that day when you're not having a great day, but pushes you forward to do what you're doing. 100% behind me. And she's my best friend. She's my wife. You know, she's just phenomenal business partner. She's got everything.
And I guess where I'm going with this is because she's not in recovery. My experience a lot of times is that people that are not in recovery, they don't, I guess, speak the language, and sometimes they don't totally get it. And so
the best thing I did, or the best thing she did, was to read the big book. She read the big book. She got knowledgeable about it. You know, she got really knowledgeable about it, and she knows, you know, what's going on. Now, that's the good news. There's bad news is when your wife reads a big book, if you're doing anything wrong, she'll let you know straight away. So there's good and bad signs. But yeah, I mean, don't forget, we're surrounded by patients, sponsors, and stuff like that. We often have at the house what we call Sober Sunday. We have a big, what we call entertaining house. So we got pools and spas in the back, full kitchen. So we'll open the house up to everyone at the meetings, and they'll come around, and she talks to people, and she's kind of in the crowd herself, even though she's not alcoholic or addict.
has she ever worked a 12-step program besides
No.
Alan, Dakota, anything like that?
No, nothing at all. I mean, she's been to Al-Anon a few times, as I have, just to get to see the other person's point of view. I've been to CA, I've been all the 12-step groups just to get a piece of it and see what they're up against. But no, she doesn't work anything like that. Now, she has her own spiritual journey, and she has a spiritual guru that she works with, you know, but no, she's not a 12-step person.
Does she drink?
She'll do once every 6 months, once every 12 months, if that, you know. Yeah. So I'm very big on surrounding myself when I go out with people who drink, because for many years I couldn't do that. Well, now I can. So still get the one or two friends though. Are you okay if we drink? I'm like, oh yeah. Why are you asking me for? You know, and they say, oh, I'm just making sure. It must be difficult for you. Hey, buddy, if this was difficult for me, I'd be drinking. You know, the compulsion had to be taken away. I have a new life today. Alcohol is not my problem. Thinking is my problem. So it's not the drinking problem, it's the thinking problem. That's what it's all about. Alcohol's the symptom. It's like when I get chicken pox, somebody say, hey, Rob, you've got chicken pox. How do you know? I can see all the spots on your body. Actually, that's the symptom of chicken pox. I actually have a viral infection that as an adult can kill me. Same with alcoholism. You see the bottle with the whiskey in it or whatever it may be. You don't see the disease that centers in my brain that has an effect on my body.
Right. And I think where I was going with this is I'm, you know, being a person in long-term recovery, I've dated girls that are in recovery and girls that are not in recovery, or women that are in recovery, women that are not in recovery. And to me, to your point, anybody I date, anybody I surround myself with needs to be supportive of my recovery journey. But I'm never tempted to drink as a symptom, right? And we can live our lives, and I don't need to control people. Other people can do whatever it is that they want to do.
Exactly. You know, if we can't go into a place beer served or alcohol served and mix with people, you're not in the right place. You probably relapse. You know, we need to be on fit spiritual ground. We can go anywhere we want to do. I used to like German wine, and that's what my wife drinks every now and again. I often take the glass and smell it, because I know a good wine from a bad wine. So it has no effect on me. I mean, why would it have an effect? It's the symptom. But yeah, you know, if you get a great person around you, supports you for who you are and supports your journey, that's what we need, because we can't do this on our own. There was an experiment done a few years ago with mice, 10 mice in 10 cages. Each cage had a feed of water and a feed of water and cocaine. Every single one of them chose the cocaine. every single time. He went back to the cocaine. What they did then is they collected all the mice up and stick them in one cage. 9 out of 10 of the mice went to the water. So together, we can do it. Singly, we can't. There's a big lesson to be learned then, hence the fellowship. The fellowship will not get you well. The fellowship will not keep you well. No human power can relieve my alcoholism, but God could and would. But the fellowship is very important for lifting each other up, hearing other stories, compliment other people, and just being grateful for people around you.
Well, the opposite of human connection is addiction.
Yes, I like that.
Connection is alcoholism. We need each other. We need a fellowship. We need to be around other people and surrounding ourselves around people that want the same things that we want. Surrounding myself around people that have what I want. That's how I'm going to get what I want.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of people think it's all monetary and all, you know, it's not. You can hang around and be a great guy without even earning a lot of money. But, you know, you can succeed. Quantum physics tells us that I can be on the same basketball court, for instance, at 25 places at the same time. I could be 25 different places on the same basketball court. Ask yourself, where would you want to be? Well, I'd be one over near the goal. So when I got it, I'd bang it in the net and I'd be the hero. So would I. The question is, how do we get there? Here we go. We walk over and we take that position. That's all there is. If you can visualize it, you can hold it in your hand, but you need people around you to keep that dream there. Never share your dreams with people who never share your dreams.
Do you think people can achieve long-term recovery without the 12-step program?
I've seen it done. Now, this is really hard because there's a great distinction between an alcoholic and a heavy drinker. You know, I know people that drank more than me, drank longer than me, were in blackouts more than me, but it's not how often we drink or how much we take. It's the effect that chemical has on my brain. That's the difference. So you've got to ask yourselves, are people who do it just their own way or on their own, were they real alcoholic or were just heavy drinkers? Because heavy drinkers can stop drinking given a sufficient reason. The doctor goes, hey, your liver's blah, blah, blah. If you don't stop drinking, you're going to die. They can stop or moderate. They're not alcoholic. When I take the first drink, can I stop? No. I was in a hospital bed once again, and the doctor leant over me and he looked right in my face and he said, look, Rob, if you ever drink alcohol again, you will not even make it in the ambulance to the hospital. And I'm making myself clear. While he's telling me this deadly message, I'm looking over his shoulder at the clock on the wall, thinking the liquor store closes in 2 hours' time. If I can get out of here in the next 30 minutes, I can get to the liquor store on time. That's how crazy thinking is.
So we've got a few minutes left here. What is it that you want people to take away from this conversation that we had?
There's a couple of things. This is the first one, that whatever you desire, whatever you want, you can get it if you're doing the right thing and following a great program and doing all the things it tells me. Don't let anybody tell you can't recover than this and have an amazing life. It's not true. Stop hanging around the people that bring you down, that are jealous of you, that want what you've got. You've got to realize that you are worthy. Remember, we're never going to be blonde enough, tall enough, thin enough, or rich enough. Just take that on board and live life to the max. Every single day, live life to the max. Because God forbid, if you ever died tomorrow, what would you regret not having done today? Just keep that in your mind and make sure you do it.
So how can people reach you, find out more about you, find out more about the services that you provide?
Dr. Robb Kelly on any Google search or any other platform. Just search my name. You'll see it. RobbKelly.com is the website. Robb@RobbKelly.com. And of course, I often do this on only great shows, not crappy shows, is I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number should you need it. 214-600-0210. Then that isn't for business. That is if you're struggling and you need a 15-minute pep talk. It's not going to cost you anything. For more of a sponsee deal, call me. We'll chat, and I will change your life in 15 minutes with the talk I will give you. I guarantee it.
Okay, what's your number again?
214-600-0210. And also, it's worth mentioning on Amazon only, the last thing my daughter said to me 25 years ago was, "Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking." That's the name of the book on Amazon. And the only reason, again, why we do it is we don't take a dime from it. All the proceeds, not all the profits, all the proceeds, everything that goes into that buying of that book, $10, goes back in the community. Last year, we give a bunch of money away. Must be 100,000 the year before, maybe 200,000 back into the community, back helping people. So yeah, go and buy it. It's a great read. And let me know what you think about it.
Okay. Well, Dr. Robb Kelly, I really appreciate you. It was really good getting to know you and getting to know more about you. And thanks, everybody. Hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. And thanks again, Dr. Robb. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.